Okay, well, we'll get things started with Better Watch Out from 2016. So this movie's about this little rich snobby kid who has a crush on his babysitter and fakes a break-in situation at his house, which he was going to foil in an attempt to somehow impress the babysitter. So she finds out it's kind of all bullshit and is going to get him in trouble for doing it. And then he takes her hostage in an even more elaborate type of, I guess, backup situation that he had. So he's kind of planned out every single detail to avoid getting in trouble for any of the shit that he's done on the night. So I remember at the time this movie came out, there was some fairly positive comments and reviews about this one. I guess maybe because it's a little different from just, your standard Christmas horror movie. It's got quite a bit of an elaborate plot there. So I think the story itself is fine. For me personally, this is a movie where you probably really have to enjoy the characters though, because the characters, especially the boy and the babysitter, they take up a good chunk of the screen time in this movie. And while I wasn't annoyed too much by any of the characters, I didn't necessarily care too much about any of the characters either. So for me, that really, I guess, marred my enjoyment of the movie. Because I think, like I said, the plot is fine, it's decent. I just thought it was okay.
I actually have to admit I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I didn't really know much about it. In fact, I didn't really know anything about it. I thought it was just like a generic slasher Christmas movie. But then I saw it has the two kids from The Visit from 2015, and then I was like somewhat surprised. So I really enjoyed the story. There's a few plot twists that take you for a ride, and I didn't see either one coming, to be honest. I actually didn't mind the characters. I sort of like the babysitter. I like her resilience through the situation. Some of the final scenes, of course, in the movie are pretty enjoyable. And I get that one of the main kids can be somewhat annoying, in sort of like a pompous way. But he sort of cracked me up with his attitude. Very very iffy attitude. But I thought the characters were okay enough and the story went well enough to make this overall a decently enjoyable movie. And it helps that there was some, not necessarily over the top, but there was some decent gore scenes too.
And that's the review.
Well, I mean, also, this is just a side note, but seeing Patrick Warburton, who played the father, who was there just for a few scenes near the beginning, he's a actor who I know him more for his voice, from Family Guy. It was sort of nice seeing him too. It came as a sort of nice surprise.
And I guess, for some people, the wife, played by Virginia Madsen, who people will recognize from Candyman and a few other things.
Yeah, it's funny because I tried to recognize her from Candyman, but I just couldn't do it. Because I really like Candyman, and it took me a while to realize, to think about that name, and it's like, oh hey, that's who it is. But when she appears toward the end of the movie, I'm like, I can't see it, so I feel like I missed out on that, but that's okay. As far as like modern day like home invasion movies go, or what seems to be home invasion, I feel like this one the story is written pretty well, and I think, like you said, if you don't like the characters, it might be or if you necessarily don't like them, but they don't do anything for you, I can imagine you not necessarily care much for the movie because it's somewhat character driven. But I personally enjoyed the performances enough to, it didn't really bother me. So it's your loss.
Yeah. Well, I've tried watching this movie quite a few times, and every single time I watch it, I either fall asleep during it, or I don't know, for some reason I just struggle to get through this one. Even though I'm not necessarily disliking it, it's always been a tough thing for me to complete in one go.
I mean, as far as I guess more recent Christmas horror movies, this is probably one of the better ones I've seen. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that stands out.
Yeah, well, I certainly I can see why some people would enjoy it because, like I said, it is a little different to your typical Christmas horror movie. But the characters just didn't do it for me. So,
And the paint can scene, did it like throw it over the top for you?
well, I mean, it was kind of amusing when he said, "Are you trying to home alone him or something like that? Are you home aloning him?" Yeah, it was kind of amusing just when he said that, but the actual scene, I mean, I would have liked to have seen the actual paint can hit his face rather than off screen and just have paint fly everywhere.
Well, we did see some of the aftermath a bit later on.
Yeah.
You're just a hard guy, you please.
Well, when it comes to this movie, yeah.
I also have to admit I like the sort of comedy relief sidekick kid.
Not that I really enjoyed any of the characters. He was okay, yeah.
He just cracked me. He's like what, a 12, 13-year-old kid who's like smoking weed and stuff. I mean, that's who I wish I could have been back in his time.
You are him in this time.
Oh, if only. But I don't know. I think like those three characters that got along well enough to make the movie somewhat believable. I really think it's and I can't again with pronunciation. Olivia DeJong. I'm not sure if the J is pronounced or not. Who is the same girl from The Visit, like I mentioned before. I think she had a really solid performance here. See, I thought her character was okay. I didn't mind rooting for her character. I don't know, I guess I just had an easier time with this movie maybe, because personally I thought the characters were pretty okay. Even though some of them may be like generic psychotic, but even so I thought it worked out okay.
Maybe if they had like a bigger boobed babysitter, that would have enticed me a little more.
Well, okay. I did like the news scene with the drunken ex-boyfriend. I did think it was like spectacular. And the whole thing where hey, write this note. I thought that was a bit much, but the noose, the hanging itself, I thought was pretty okay.
Yeah. Better watch out, hey. It was okay. I didn't dislike the movie, but at the same time, it's been a struggle for me to get through this one on a couple of different occasions, and just because the movie it's going places, but it's not necessarily going places that I want it to go, and like I said, the big thing is probably the characters. The boy, he's kind of a decent actor, but at the same time, he kind of annoyed me, and like I said, babysitter, maybe have... maybe it's just if it was someone else in that role, it might have made all the difference. I'm not sure. Once again, she's a decent actress. It's just, I don't know, the characters just didn't do it for me. I'm going to give it a 6, and I might still watch it again at some point, many years later, and we'll see how things go then.
Out of interest, how many times have you tried to watch this and got sidetracked or fall asleep or whatever?
2 or 3 times.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I liked the story. I thought, the twists were pretty decent. Maybe some people saw them coming, but they took me by surprise, so that's always nice. I liked the characters. When they went that direction, I sort of liked some of the motives they had. And overall, I think it's a pretty enjoyable movie. I don't think it's necessarily amazing, but I could see myself giving this another watch, the next 16, 17 years. So I would probably throw this one an 8 out of 10. But it averages out to a 7, though, between both of our ratings, so that makes it an average movie, so that's okay. And actually, just a quick side note, the director who did this movie, Chris Packover, also directed a found footage horror movie from 2010 titled Undocumented, which, even if you're not a fan of found footage, it's still a movie I would probably say is one of the better found footage movies I've seen. So just, if that sounds like your type of thing, you should check it out.